Delighted to get the recording.
Thanks, Bernard. Hi everyone. I think I've met most of you at this stage. Manuela, it's lovely to meet you. I definitely haven't met you before. You're very welcome to the session today. So today what we want to do is look at Google Classroom and how it can be used to help teachers prepare and participate as part of the WRO. So Vicky has kindly offered to give the session today. So I'm going to hand over to Vicky and I'll let her bring us through the various stages of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda, and hi everybody. It's so good to see all of you. And yeah, so I hope the World Robot Olympiad preps in your country are going really well. We have our national finals from the 24th to the 28th of June. So yeah, let me just say it's a very interesting experience that we are actually going through here in Zimbabwe. So Google Classroom for WRO 2024. I'm just sharing my screen there, and I hope that you will be able to see that.
Yeah.
So please just let me know if you are actually seeing the screen now. I'm not able to actually see you.
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see it. Awesome. So let's get into it. So one of the key things about Google Classroom, and I think during COVID, one of the things that we were kind of looking into and doing was using virtual platforms to reach our students, to reach fellow educators, and just keep kind of some sort of sanity within the education platform at that time. And it's very interesting to note that though we've gone back to face-to-face type of teaching, particularly those that are working directly in the classrooms, we still can use Google Classroom for other things. So we got to thinking around how we can use Google Classroom, because it's free, to be used as a repository, to be used as sort of a channel for your respective countries as you coordinate WRO and also build a community. Because I think what we're trying to do here is build a community of like-minded people that would probably work with us in building WRO in our respective countries. So we just basically want to learn how to effectively integrate Google Classroom into our different World Robot Olympiad experiences. So just in case I'm kind of speaking over the top of the heads of many people, we're just going to explain what Google Classroom is. So for those of us that may be unfamiliar with it, it is basically a free online platform that facilitates communication and collaboration within classrooms. It also allows teachers, and obviously in our case, WRO coordinators, to be able to create different classes if we need to have different WRO sessions virtually. So if you're coordinating something nationally, it's almost going to be impossible, always going to be impossible for you to be able to reach everybody in one go. So it might be great for us to create content, to live stream some of our sessions using the Google Classroom platform. It's also great for sharing resources among different coaches for different teams. And all of that is going to happen in a central digital space. And the beautiful thing is, in this conversation we're going to have today, we're going to have a little bit of a demonstration on how we are going to be able to do that. So basically, let's have a little bit of an overview of Google Classroom. So the aim of having the WRO and coordinating it probably from a virtual space would be for us to facilitate interactive learning experiences. So imagine the physical WRO and the sort of exchanges that happen when the students are building different solutions together and they're peering over, at someone else's team and seeing what they're doing. So that's actually what we call interactive learning. So Google Classroom has the ability to do that. It also has the ability to ensure that there are clear instructions and effective feedback mechanisms that are going back and forth. So as you will see, if we haven't used Google Classroom before, we'll be able to get comments, we'll be able to get direct feedback from the posts that we put on the Google Classroom, from the content that we put on the Google Classroom platform. And then, of course, very important to enhance teamwork. With teamwork comes a fertile environment for creativity in our participants and in our students. And so pretty much that is why we would like to have Google Classroom, being used by coordinators for that very purpose. So let's get into it. So how does Google Classroom become a game changer for WRO coordinators? What is it that we can practically use it for within the context of WRO? So we have a centralized communication platform that will be for members of the WRO community that have come in from your specific country. And I guess for us to get an email for us to attend this, we literally had to be copied. So there's like a long list of emails in the email that Bernard sent for us to actually attend this information session. So the beautiful thing about having everything in central places, there's no scattered emails or lost information, and you going through several number of emails looking for stuff. You're also able to share updates and announcements and resources with all teams and coaches at the same time in one place, which is great. Streamlined resource sharing. So there's a lot of information for national coordinators to go through. So there's information about the actual category that you're in. There's information about the rules and regulations. There's also information about the layout of how the booths are supposed to go. So that's a lot of information. And it's wonderful to be able to actually share that in one space and know where to find it when you need it. So Google Classroom, and I am going to show you practically how that actually works a little later in the presentation. So Google Classroom allows you to do that, offers you also a collaborative workspace. So not only do you need to feel alone and somewhat crazy as a national coordinator speaking to different people all at once, it might be great to actually facilitate discussions and have live Q&A sessions between teams and coaches, between national coordinators and mentors and that sort of thing. And all of that can be done using the Google Classroom platform. Also, team management. It's actually pretty easy to separate all the teams that you have that will be competing in the WRO by putting them into different classes. We call them classes in Google Classroom, and kind of keeping each team separate from the other for the purposes of making it easier to manage the communication that is specific, for example, for the 8 to 12 year age group or the 13 to 15 year age group, because the 8 to 12 year age group probably won't need the same information. So again, that kind of keeps things neat and tidy. And then, of course, improved organization. So you're actually able to put in things like your different proposals or design documents for robots, the robot design or the solution design, and basically just keep everything tied up in one spot. So, I mean, with the amount of work that we have to do as WRO national coordinators, the more orderly it is, the easier it is for us to navigate stuff. So we just basically want to look at different key milestones in which we could effectively use Google Classroom to implement our WRO for 2024 effectively. So we might want to think of, and this is just purely a suggestion, introduction to Google Classroom's features and benefits. So we'll go into that and I'll show you how you could possibly introduce that. And then also the setup. So how do you create a class? How do you manage content efficiently? I will show you that. I've created a mock class specifically for this session, and we'll have a look at what that looks like. Also, how do you facilitate communication and collaboration among educators and learners? We'll be in a position to actually show you how we can do that within the platform. And then, of course, finally, using Google Classroom to actually get feedback effectively, which leads into our overall assessment at the end of the program that we will need to do, and you should be able to find everything quite easily there. So without wasting much of your time, and I've asked Linda to assist me with popping something into the chat. So if you haven't already created a Google account, the easiest would be to click the link in the chat so that you will actually access the Google Classroom. So pretty much I have gone on to set up a class known as WRO Future Innovators 2024. And what's going to happen is, if you already were in Google Classroom, I was going to show you the code, which is displayed on the screen, which is what you would have input. So I think the easiest would be for us to move over here. And it says my screen, okay, let me just resume share there. Okay, so let's just stop that briefly. And then let me reshare the screen from another location. So essentially, we should be in the Google Classroom, which I've created. You should be seeing the Future Innovators section. So I'm just going to share what that looks like from my Google platform. So that's what the Google Classroom will look like when you click on the link, and just confirm for me if you haven't seen it. If you wanted to create a class, like I spoke about, shifting around the different age groups, maybe having, a separate, class for the coaches and a separate class maybe for a different age group, you would literally click on this button here and you would create a class. Okay, and obviously there's some privacy rules there and so on and so forth, and you would just literally accept that because that's what we're using at the moment. And in this instance, I'm just going to create one specifically for WRO coaches for 2024, and we're just going to call it the World Robot Olympiad section. You will notice in the previous class that I've created, under the section column, it reads Future Innovators. So that's specifically for future innovators. And so it would click create, and so it would then create a new class. So that's a brand new class, as you can see, completely specific to coaches. So all the information that would be posted here would have to do with information that only the WRO coaches need to know about, information that they need to hear, anything they need to ask, and that sort of thing. And so we would go on to invite the different people that would be applicable, or we would share the class code. This class code over here, 7Q45VQE, would be the code that we would share with only the coaches. So I'm just going to go back here. And the beautiful thing is it's creating this repository, as you can see, where I'm moving the mouse around there. And I'm just going to go back to the World Robot Olympiad Zimbabwe Future Innovators, right? So this is just a dummy site that I created really quickly. And this is just to give you an overview of the type of information that we can put on there just to keep everybody going. So essentially, it's not always that we're online and able to meet and have conversations and discussions and that sort of thing. And because this works predominantly offline in the sense that you could kind of post something and then go back to it later if you've missed, like, let's say, a week of communication. So how is this different from, like, okay, say a Facebook post or say a LinkedIn post? So with Facebook, you could have a WRO page dedicated to showcasing what you're doing, and that's great. But sometimes when you go into social media, you could miss some posts. And the reason for missing some posts would be there's just a lot of content that keeps being updated on the timeline, right? So in this instance, as you update, everything is updated in chronological order, and it's one post after the other as it appeared, and it kind of creates a story as I'm just scrolling up. So we start from the bottom up. And I'm just scrolling up to kind of show you the different things and the different communication that you can put through. So I welcomed everybody to the World Robot Olympiad information channel for the Future Innovators category. I explained what is going to happen in this particular channel, that there's going to be important updates, and these are going to be for educators, for mentors, for students, and the fact that we would also have some live stream sessions here. And hopefully, if you've kind of joined, I should be able to show you how we can do that. And also, just encouraging people to make the most of the channel by also posting some exciting highlights from their WRO journey. So what this means is you're actually able to get quick hit feedback back and forth with all the participants of Future Innovators, all their mentors, and that sort of thing. And they're able to go back and forth on this channel. They could literally come through, read this, and put a comment on there, and you'd be able to pick it up and see it. And that's excellent, because imagine having about 100 WhatsApp messages from different participants all asking things. And this is just one central way for you to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks and that you're able to get back to people when you need to. So again, I went on to then say, hey, maybe you would like to know what the theme is for this year. So we've shared what the theme is. We've also shared the logos that they might want to use to promote and showcase what they're doing with WRO in their respective communities, and also maybe just kind of get more teams involved. And so we've made it easy by just kind of putting the logos on there for them to use for their social media work. And then, of course, we moved on to then explain, just in case we're missing it, what the Future Innovators is about. And we've gone on to literally put some information there about team size, about the type of software, hardware, and the characteristics of the type of a robot project that they might want to use. And then moving on. Also, where they can get more information should they choose not to participate in the Future Innovators category anymore, and then gone on to have the latest 2024 Innovators mission for them to fully understand the mission a lot more clearly. And, same story, if you wanted to remind people, in my case, deadline for registration is really fast approaching because we have our national finals in about 3 weeks. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging people and reminding them to actually attend and be part of this event. And so we'd be able to post that announcement relatively quickly. And if somebody has forgotten, they'd be able to get a link to that. We're also able to share some motivational type of content there regarding, what happened last year in Panama. And we're actually able to get people to envision themselves in Turkey this year, and, kind of creating that hype around the competition this year. And then, of course, team coaches and mentors, you want to remind them again about the rules and the guidelines and that sort of thing. And you make it easy by bringing everything in. The judges' criteria. What are the judges looking for? What are the rules? What are the guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty much in a nutshell, this is kind of what it looks like to use this interface. And I know most of us probably may have used Google Classroom in a different sense and not necessarily in this type of sense. But nonetheless, it is something very useful. And the good thing is it's free, right? It's free. Nobody has to pay anything to use it. And so essentially, that is kind of what we were looking at. So I'm just going to share my screen again, so that we can kind of move on with just winding up the conversation. And also, I'd love to hear from you about what your thoughts are, regarding the use of Google Classroom. And, if I've missed anything else that you think, we might want to include, please do share in our feedback session in a bit. And we can kind of go back and forth on that one. So essentially, just putting it into context as I kind of draw this conversation to a close. How we can utilize Google Classroom, in my mind, and how we intend to use it, is literally split it into 3 categories. So we've got all the pre-competition stuff that needs to be done, right? So we've got to have registration details done, right? So we need to have somewhere in terms of a repository where we put that. We need to be able to ensure that competition rules are disseminated, they're shared, and they're also understood, right? We also need to be able to kind of give somebody that's new to WRO, they've never heard of WRO, all they know is they want to be a part of it this year. We've got to be able to share some past competition videos. We've got to be able to share photos, things that will inspire somebody to action and inspire somebody to actually register. And then during the competition, right? So the competition is in full swing. We're doing things in different ways. We're actually going out around province by province, literally looking for the talent that we can then kind of put through to our national finals. So you might want to be, in a position to distribute last minute updates. You want to clarify things. Maybe it's a change of venue for a specific hackathon, a local hackathon, or it's a specific change of time, whatever it is. You want to be able to share that out. You also want to be able to, get your judges in on the action so that they can actually verify that things are happening above board and according to the guidelines and the regulations. And so you're able to do that during the competition using the Google Classrooms platform. And then afterwards, post competition, right? You're still using that as a place where you're going to share the results, who won, what was the feedback, and so on. What happened, those that went to Turkey, what's the story with them? How did they do? Where are the photos? And the importance of doing this is to create a complete story of your WRO journey in your country. So whoever, I know we're constantly always looking for funding partners, and we're constantly always looking to get more members of our respective communities involved. This would tell the story without you even having to do a pitch deck. They would literally be able to see how literally experience how the competition went in your country, and from start to finish. And literally it should be enough to inspire them to also want to be part of this. So I think another interesting bit, as I was just kind of reflecting on this yesterday, was how you can then integrate other Google platforms and tools into this. So for example, we spoke about managing our registrations, right? So your Google Forms would be probably what you would use to get the registration link out, right? Or maybe conduct a survey for feedback. So how did you find the local hackathon? What can we do to make things better next year? What would you see? What would you like to see different? Blah, blah, blah. And you'd be able to use a Google form to do that. But the beautiful thing is you'd be able to take that same Google form and literally post a link onto Google Classroom that will ensure that even if they don't fill in the form when you need them to, they're always able to fill it in at a later date, right? You can also integrate other third-party apps. For example, you use your Google Sheets. You have a Google Excel sheet for, perhaps maybe there's a budget for merchandise that you want to discuss with your other team members that are on the Google Classroom platform. You can literally pop it on there and have people go back and forth and literally comment in real time on Google Classroom, and that will actually make the whole experience a lot more easier, because you're not able to always sit down and have a full meeting with the people helping you coordinate, and you can literally get everybody's feedback, even if they do it after your session has ended. And so I think, in a nutshell, I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that Google Classroom is a versatile and a flexible tool, right? So how you envision Google Classroom playing out with how you use it for WRO in your country may be different, but this was just how we envisioned it working in Zimbabwe, and allowing a lot more access because it's free. So pretty much everybody has a Gmail account, and it would be so easy for us to manage what we're doing using Google Classroom. So I think this is where my presentation ends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this has been helpful. And I'm also looking forward to hearing your thoughts on how you would like to use Google Classroom on your in your WRO journey. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vicky. That's absolutely brilliant. It's a great overview of Google Classroom, and it really is versatile, as you say. And then in the context of WRO, I mean, the centralized communication and the streamlining of resources is really, really helpful. So we've just a message here in the chat from Danny Haymans, and it's thanks, Vicky, never used it. I can see the benefit in an area of my outreach centres. The conversations are a little broken. So that's exactly it. You've summarized it there, really, what Google Classroom can do. So has anybody got any questions? I mean, feel free to unmute your mic, or please feel free to put it into the chat. Vicky is here and delighted to answer some questions. Yeah, would anybody like to throw in a question?
I'm gonna suggest you put in a question quickly, or we follow on, because the count I'm using, it's obviously just got the 40-minute limit, and it's giving us 3 minutes 16 seconds left. I'm so used to having the other account that I hadn't realized there was a change on this one. So Vicky, brilliant. If anyone wants to come in, as I said, we have 3 minutes still left.
And we can follow on. So if we don't get to answer them today, please feel free to email us or reach out to us by putting it into chat now, and we can follow up on that question.
I have a question. Thank you, Vic, for your good presentation. My question is, how about internet issues are sorted using Google Classroom when I want to reach men in the country using Google Classroom? How is internet is an effect?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. And I think the beauty about using Google Classroom is you don't have to be online all the time. So, and also you don't have to be online at the same time as the people you're trying to reach, which I think is what makes it brilliant. So they can always catch up with what you've posted out in terms of announcements, in terms of updates, in terms of any new information when they have an internet connection, right? So it's not always that they're going to have long periods of, no internet connectivity. They will connect at some point. And when they do, all your updates as the national coordinator will be there. They'll be able to follow through. If they need to get feedback from you, they're able to actually literally leave a message or a comment or whatever it is, and you're able to actually see it and respond. So I think that was kind of the whole reasoning behind kind of looking at Google Classroom as an option, because it gets messy with emails and communication all over the place. And it's great if you know that you miss a couple of days, you can go through whenever you log in and have a look. So I hope that answers you, Eva.
That's great, Vicky. Thank you for that. And I am conscious of time. So what we might do is we'll wrap up this session, and any further questions, maybe throw them on an email. We'd be delighted to get back to you on it. So
I think
last minute.
Yeah. Last thing is we will practically set up a Google Classroom for this group. And I think some of the questions, we'll do that today. Some of the questions can come in via that, and I'm sure we'll be able to communicate with each other. Thank you all for joining us, and we will distribute this to others. Thank you, Vicky. Brilliant presentation.
You're so welcome. Thank you, everybody.
And absolutely so practical as always. And great to see you all. And hopefully we see next Tuesday, I think Vicky's back again with looking at presentation skills, particularly in a world of AI, where we know that is impacting a lot on what young people or anyone will do in presentation. So thanks, Vicky. Brilliant to have you as part of the team.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Sure. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Join us, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.